January 24th, 2013. Episode 5, Part 2, Turning the Tide of Liberalism. Welcome. Hopefully welcome back. If you're fed up with liberals, corruption, dirty politicians, bankers, Ponzi schemes, and Big Brother invading your privacy, you're always welcome here. I always like to start my videos off with any corrections or retractions from the previous video. We have none to report this time. Moving on, you can find us at mad-yet.blogspot.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and on iTunes. All of the links are easily found on our homepage. Now let's continue with Part 2. How do we turn the tide of liberalism? There is a massive difference between hardline liberals and new or young Democrats, and you must know the difference. Liberals are collectivists, statists, and have socialist goals. They hide their communist desires or ideologies behind current party lines, mostly, but not isolated to, the Democratic Party. They rely on control by the state to accomplish their goals. Most new and young Democrats are by and large Americans like you and I. They are bleeding hearts, and they mean well, and they want the best for everyone. But these fledgling ideologists don't know how to accomplish their goals without the power of liberals currently in office. These Democrats fall into the liberal trap of free handouts, socialism, and collectivist theories. They simply go with the flow because it's the only way they feel they can get anything done. This is due to Republicans being in power for so long. These Republicans are often unwilling to discuss anything in most cases, which is a blessing and a curse dependent on the situation. They feel they are beating their heads against the wall and go even deeper into the communist ideas and theories to accomplish their goals when debate doesn't happen. Think of it as the oak tree versus the palm tree in a hurricane theory. You, as a free thinker, must understand this if we want to stem the tide of liberalism. Winston Churchill explained this easily with his quote about liberalism. It goes as follows: "If you're not a liberal at 20, you have no heart, and if you're not a conservative at 40, you have no head." Excluding tact, this is extremely accurate. We as independents and Republicans must be able to open a dialogue with these susceptible Democrats who have been led astray by the serpent called liberalism, or we have failed before we have begun. Focus on the problem, find a solution, and fix the problem without resorting to collectivist tactics, and you would be surprised how fast you can make that Democrat into an independent, or even a Republican, once they see that they don't have to rely on socialist tactics to achieve their goals. Can Democrats be pro-gun? Many of the Democrats I spoke of earlier are pro-gun, and the extreme right views in the press today alienate these people, and we as a society cannot turn this tide of liberalism until this is addressed. We need to get everyone to stop taking sides, Democrat and Republican, and start thinking and speaking for themselves, and to hell with party lines. This is called doing what is right for America. The Democrats I spoke of earlier feel marginalized, alienated, and alone, and they are angry. Liberals give them a soapbox, while the Republicans elbow them into partisan tactics, rather than taking the time to explain themselves and why capitalism works better than socialism. These susceptible Democrats have served in your military, and they are your police, fire, and public servants in many cases. They are in your family and social circles, and they just need a little nudge to understand and put the puzzle pieces together and see the communist tactics for what they truly are. They need someone to explain to them what is going on and give them an outlet to discuss things, because hardline, card-carrying Republicans refuse to budge on anything anymore. That's where independents need to focus, and Republicans need to change tactics. Tyranny and oppression is our biggest fear right now for conservatives. The following is a conversation I had with a Democrat I know the other day. During the course of my interactions with him, he claimed it was okay for the government to do forced buybacks on firearms, because, as he put it, they pay you. So I asked him 2 questions. The first question I asked him is, can I explain what capitalism is? To illustrate my point, I told him I would give him $5 to buy his coat. It was cold outside. He said no way. I asked him how much would he sell it for then. He said no amount, and after some haggling, he finally settled on $100. Now this should clearly illustrate to you, as it did to him, that anything can be purchased for a price, and he felt that taking the risk of catching a cold or other illness was worth $100 to him. I then explained extortion to him. I asked him nicely, "Can I please explain what extortion is?" To illustrate this point, I offered him $5 for the same coat that we talked about previously. Again, he said no way. I then told him that he had to give me the coat for $5 or I would fine him and put him in prison for 10 years, and take the coat anyways. He said that wasn't fair. I said, exactly. My point had been made. He then started to understand what gun enthusiasts are so angry about, and all it took was a short explanation of what was really happening. Forced government buyback programs like what Dianne Feinstein has openly desired for years, so she can disarm you, will be under coercive measures that are tyrannical and unfair and will embody the extortion technique that I discussed with the young man before. If these draconian plans are implemented, you will not receive fair compensation for your firearms because your safety was given up in the process. The real question that should be asked right now is, after they take your guns, what comes next? Your car? Your home? Where do you draw the line? I draw mine at firearms, and I hope you feel the same way. History tells us that liberals will simply pass executive orders on guns if they don't feel they have the support needed to pass such laws. This is why it is so vitally important to explain tyranny and extortion to susceptible Democrats within your social circles that will listen to you, but you must come across as rational. If you go off, like Alex Jones did on Piers Morgan, you will do more to harm pro-gun positions all across this nation. The liberal media will lambaste you and your cause before you even have a chance to get a word in edgewise. We as gun owners cannot expand our numbers or sway public opinion by acting like this. Please use the method I used above, not Alex Jones's method. Remember what I said in my previous articles. The liberal advance upon us is silent, multi-pronged, and two-faced. Like a hydra attacking from the shadows, they attack from multiple areas: financial, political, media, and social. They know how to manipulate things until they get what they want. They don't care how you feel. They have agendas, and they will continue their march on your freedoms until you have nothing left and you're a slave. They want your guns. And recently, the Journal News editor-in-chief's husband even proved this by stating he wants to get them, you, back down to one-bullet magazines. The same Journal News that put up a map of every gun owner in New Jersey, and by doing so, put those families in danger. You can now see this in James O'Keefe's video over at Project Veritas. They go from home to home of Journal News employees trying to get these hypocritical, opportunistic, and bigoted jerks to put signs up stating that their home was proudly gun-free. Guess how many declined? All of them. Interesting, huh? This is a witch hunt, and their lack to the strength of their convictions proves it. This isn't about gun control. It's just about control. These communists want your freedoms and your liberties obliterated. Guns are just an obstacle to them. They lack the strength of their convictions when it comes to having the same done to them. They manipulate people and organizations to get what they want from them. Organizations like the Journal News are just one in a long line of brown-nosing suck-ups that do whatever they can to get attention and prove that they will do whatever the current paradigm tells them to do. Don't let them win the fight against your freedoms. Hold them all accountable. As usual, I'm going to leave you with a little quote. Think real hard on this one, because it might remind you of the Congress we currently have in session. A body of men holding themselves accountable to nobody ought not be trusted by anybody. Thomas Paine.